Anytime stocks go down, as far as I'm concerned, I like it because I'm a net buyer of stocks.
In this video, I'm going to be going over how the Twitter noise and the fundamentals are affecting the stock price and not the fundamentals. So some catalyst for growth in 2023 for Tesla would be start with the new Gigafactory in Mexico announcement that should be coming out this week. Next, the ramping up of the new Megapack plant in Lathrop, California. Next, FSD version 11 beta wide release that should either be coming out around Christmas or maybe in January of next year. Q4 deliveries and production, that'll be in mid-January. Another catalyst would be Elon stepping down as CEO of Twitter and who he replaces. $7,500 EV credit and how that can affect demand for next year. Potential new gigafactories next year. A potential buyback being announced maybe in Q1 or Q2 of next year. The Cybertruck launch in the mid of 2023. The announcement of a new $30,000 EV, maybe the Model 2. And next will be interest rates, if interest rates get lower or if they stay the same, and how that will affect the stock price for next year. The reason I'm showing these catalysts are this, I believe it will give the range of what Tesla could be for next year and what growth they're gonna have. Elon's talked about growing at 50% a year. He said some years are gonna be more than 50%, some years will be less than 50%. So I think hitting on all these catalysts will really show if it can be towards the higher end or the lower end. First, starting with FSD. If FSD really gets rolled out and more people start figuring out and seeing the amazing abilities of FSD and how it's way different than any other car company out there. When you don't have to drive anymore, I really think a lot of this noise and FUD about Tesla isn't gonna be a big deal when you can get driven to work and watch Netflix or play video games while you drive. I don't think it's necessarily gonna be like that for 2023, but going on, if they can prove through the FSD program in 2023 how well it works, going into 2024 could potentially be where you can watch Netflix or do whatever you want in the car and get driven to work. That is just a game changer, the biggest change in the automotive industry ever, and it'll change how we view driving for this next century. When he announces the new Twitter CEO, some people believe that he's tarnished his brand already with his rhetoric on Twitter. I don't believe so. I think Tesla is just too great of a company to be affected by his rhetoric on Twitter. I don't think people will buy an inferior product just to spite Elon. And I think in the short term, maybe, but I think long term, you're not gonna buy a Toyota Corolla versus a Tesla because you don't like Elon Musk. I don't think people are that emotional and irrational about choosing a worse product over a better product just because they don't like the owner of the company. I also believe the $7,500 EV credit will be huge. I know a few people that were even looking to get a Tesla around Christmas time and they weren't sure if they would get the credit or if they had to wait until January of this next year. So they're holding off of getting the car to make sure, confirm that they can get the tax credit. So I really believe that that $7,500 EV credit will be big for demand as well in the US. Next is the new gigafactories. They're already about to announce the new gigafactory in Mexico. The gigafactory in Mexico will be very big in my opinion. It's a 6 to 7 hour drive from the Austin factory. Wages are lower, so that'll really affect profit margins in a great way. I don't know where else they're gonna announce it, maybe UK, Turkey, Korea, maybe some mining plant in Indonesia. We don't really know. Megapack plant will be huge as it gets ramped up. They're doing 25 megapacks per day. It costs around $2 million per megapack. That's 50 million a day in revenue. It's not gonna get released until 2024. So they're gonna have a backlog of about over 15,000 megapacks to be released. If you do that math, it could be close to around 30 billion in revenue. We've looked at the cost. It costs about $1 million per megapack. This is in the last video. So you can have around 50% gross margins. So growing margins for potential in a Mexico gigafactory and the Megapack plant in California. Growing revenues and growing the profit margins are great catalysts for 2023. A potential buyback and what that means as they grow their net income next year. They already have over 20 billion in cash. Why not do at all-time lows for the stock? Why not do a $10 billion buyback? It's the best use of the cash instead of just holding it. Also, the Cybertruck launch. The F-150 is the best-selling car in America and has been the best-selling car in America for a long time. And I believe that the Cybertruck coming in, some people hate it, some people love it. I really think it will be a big seller in America. I think the thing is badass with FSD with it too. That thing's a game changer. To me, it's one of the cooler cars I've ever seen, but I know that it's a very polarizing car. Some people hate it, some people love it. So the release of that, once people start seeing it on the road, you know that that's gonna cause some attention. I don't know if they're gonna start the Model 2 or a potential $30,000 EV in the Mexico plant. To me, it makes sense. I know they've talked about maybe producing it in China. China or Mexico would be a great place to do it. I think it would be nice to have it in both. Like I said earlier, it's only a 6 to 7 hour drive from Monterey to the Austin factory. So if they do start producing it, they could start selling it in Latin America and in the US. So that's another big catalyst if they announce the new production or a new model. Last is interest rates. Interest rates were at all time at close to 2% for the past couple years. Now, ramping up to 6 to 9% with inflation. Who knows what interest rates are going to go up? Are they going to stay stagnant? Are they going to stay around here? Or will they lower interest rates next year? This affects margin rates, margin loans. People aren't going to be borrowing as much. You already see home sales collapsing. So I definitely think the interest rates are going to be a big catalyst. If they get lowered, I think that can help increase the Tesla stock price. The higher the interest rates in the US, I think the more stagnant that Tesla will see, even with solid growth. It's going to trade at a lower PE. So I believe with these catalysts for 2023, Tesla has a great year ahead of it. Let's watch this clip of Warren talking about how you need to be greedy in times like this. When stocks are falling, this is the time when you just got to start buying up. I know not everyone has cash during these times, they've already used it, but if you've been a Tesla investor before, this would be the best time to buy now.
I never know what markets are going to do. There's never been a time in my life when I know what markets are going to do over a long period of time. They're going to go up. But in terms of what's going to happen in a day or a week or a month or a year even, I've never felt that I knew it, and I've never felt it was important. I will say that in 10 or 20 or 30 years, I think stocks will be a lot higher than they are now.
Exactly what Warren said. You should be a net buyer in this time. If you've ever bought a Tesla stock in the past 5 years, why wouldn't you be buying now at PE around 40? If you were buying a couple years ago at a PE of 1,000, this is the best time to buy. When it's going down is when you should be greedy. The way he said it with when milk goes down in price, you maybe buy more. When it goes up, you're kind of scared. It's funny when you're buying things that you use in every day, you have the exact opposite mindset. With these catalysts in mind, in my next video, I'm gonna be going over my stock predictions for next year. I can't predict the future like Warren Buffett just said, but I'm gonna give you a range of what it could be from trading at a PE of 30 to a PE of 100, most likely depending on interest rates for next year and inflation. Also, I'm gonna go over net income and the EPS and the different ranges that it could be, whether it grows at 30% or 90%. And I think a lot of these really depend on how many of the catalysts it hits for 2023. Don't fall into the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. The tinfoil hat part of me believes that the news likes to push this. They like to short stocks, they make money on it because most people kind of just fall into the hive mind of society where all the FUD that gets put, the Twitter noise, people get scared, they start selling, they make money on these shorts, and then boom, they buy it back up. They say, oh, maybe Tesla is a great deal right now. You get the calls, starts going up. You make money on both sides. I really think that's what news channels like CNBC and Yahoo Finance, I think that's their goal, is to really benefit the short sellers and the option traders. When you look long term, stocks go up, especially when they have great fundamentals. They're growing. Tesla has 20 billion in cash. ramping up. They have lots of assets. They're not going out of business. Elon is one of the greatest engineers of all time. This is one of the best buying opportunities ever. Like I said, if you were buying a few years ago, why wouldn't you be buying now? If you're scared, investing isn't for you. My name is Sean, and I'm the Tesla Hyperbole.